Hey there guys, it's Cap here. It's been no secret that this week has been an incredible time for drama in the Ghosts of Tabor community. On one hand, we have the creator, NovaZQ, who published an absolute hit piece on our favorite game developer, Combat Waffle Studios. NovaZQ argued that Ghosts of Tabor has a ton of bugs, that has stolen assets, that it doesn't release new content, but then also said that the new content they release is what causes the bugs, so not to make new content except if it's okay with him, I guess. To be honest, this guy was just talking out of his ass. On the other hand, we have Combat Waffle Studios, who released their own response to him, debunking all of his claims and addressing some concerns of the community. All in all, I think they handled themselves pretty well. It was a pretty harsh video that he made, and they handled things fairly calmly. However, with player count lower than it has ever been since launch, there are clearly some community concerns that Combat Waffle Studios should address. Editor Cap here, just letting you guys know that the highest population was around Christmas time, meaning that all the little kids had unwrapped Ghosts of Tabor under the Christmas tree, and player count definitely declines towards the summer, so this is somewhat to be expected. That doesn't mean the game is bad, it just means that we have ways to go before this game can be as successful as we all know and want it to be. So let's get right into it and discuss some things that Ghosts of Tabor can do differently to improve the game for everyone and make sure that this game becomes the game we all want it to be. Alrighty. Hey man, thanks for coming in for the interview. I appreciate it. So I'm basically just going to ask you guys a couple questions about Ghosts of Tabor, your experience, and kind of where you think the game's going. First of all, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell me your tag and how many hours you got in game.
My tag in game is Hunter45. I don't know, I hop around VCs a lot of people know me, but I have around 215 hours in the game.
Okay, so that's a fair amount of hours. When did you start playing?
Actually, only about a couple months ago. I started, like, middle of last wipe.
So you've been grinding the last wipe or so.
Yeah, when I first got the game, I was playing, like, almost 6 to 8 hours a day.
No kidding, man.
Crazy.
So I guess what drew you to the game? Like, what got you interested in Ghosts of Tabor at first?
A few years ago when the game first released, I was already, like, I was younger, but I was watching a lot of, like, VR games on YouTube and whatnot. And Tabor, I noticed a couple people were playing it. You know, it was a new game. It was out on Steam. Everybody was going crazy about it, you know. And so I've been kind of keeping up with it a little bit here and there, watching a couple people play it. And then I got a VR set middle of, like, last year, I'd say.
Okay, so you got VR, not for Ghosts of Tabor, but you were also kind of inspired to get VR maybe because of this game.
Yeah.
So, are you still playing as much as you said you were playing before?
Yeah, pretty well. I mean, it's summer for me now, so I've been playing a lot.
Okay, fair. So probably like 8 hours a day. Dang.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you could change one thing, though, about your experience in Ghosts of Tabor, like, what would it be? Like, what's one thing that, you know, maybe is giving you a hard time in the game?
Probably the Scavs. They're either killing you for the dumbest reasons, or they're absorbing an entire mag and just not caring. I had just gotten a scar on Silo, and I had my AK, and I'm dropping down on the Silo in the main part of Silo, and there's a Scav right there. Well, I turn around to shoot him with my AK. I dumped, I kid you not, 9 rounds into this dude's chest. Me and my brother both watched it happen, and my brother's like an OG at this game. Like, he's been playing since like one of the first wipes, and we're both just looking at each other like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I've been there, and it's pretty frustrating. So Scavs are up there. Is there anything else that you would say?
They were supposed to fix the glitch where you get stuck in the drawer.
Yeah.
When you open the drawer and then you just get trapped in it.
I think that happened to me one time. I'm not sure. So that's interesting that that's still happening to people. Do you think that Combat Waffles is doing a good job of squashing the bugs, or do you feel like they could work harder at that? Or do you think it's been reasonable? Like, when they hear about bugs, they really try and fix them?
Oh, From my perspective, I've personally I keep up with the patch notes. I keep up with announcements. I keep up with all that different stuff. And it looks like they really are like making an attempt. It's just like some of these bugs seem to be more difficult for them to take care of.
For sure. That's basically how I feel as well. I think that for example, there were a lot more bugs. There were so many crashes when I first started playing, and I've had maybe one crash this wipe. There was in the beginning, it was kind of rough this wipe, but the previous wipe was perfect. I never had a single crash. So I think it's just the nature of updating the game. Things happen. And on that note, like, I guess it's an early access game. You know,
Yeah,
I played
absolutely.
OG Rust back in like 2016, and there were a lot of bugs, and I
Yeah.
think that they're doing a good job, I think, thus far of kind of squashing that. Hey guys, if you made it this far in the video, thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying yourself. If you are, hit that like and subscribe button down below so you can see videos just like this one. Which is why, like, I don't know if you're in on the drama, but there was a creator who made a
I was
video
about
this
to
week.
talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, he basically, one of his biggest arguments was that they were stealing assets. So on the topic of that, I guess what do you make of that scenario? Because I don't know, I've played a lot of early access titles in my time, and even Rust, for example, still is replacing assets that they purchased off from the Unity store, things like that.
I watched the response video to that, like Combat Waffle Studios, their response to that, and I feel like they kind of came back a lot harder on that one, just because like they like guaranteed all of the issues that he had pointed out were like not even really an issue.
Absolutely. Like the Ruger, for example. Like, how do you feel about the Ruger? Because I think it's sick. Even if it's not really a good gun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've already gotten several kills with it. I mean, it might not do a lot of damage, but I like being able to like have a sight and everything, because like the number one issue with the Ruger is the only really way you can get a kill with it is head tapping. But now that you can have things like suppressors and, you know, grips and lasers and everything on the Ruger, you know, you can actually aim with it. Because
For
the
sure.
iron sights in the old Ruger weren't the best. Like, they were okay, but they weren't the best.
Like they said in the video, that's a case of them replacing an item that they purchased with an item that they made in-house, which I think is way better. And I think I think it looks sick. The textures are awesome.
Absolutely.
It's functionally, it's great. What do you think of the bunker thus far? Like, how do you feel about farming, about the upkeep systems? How do you feel about that stuff?
I don't so much mind farming loot and stuff like that, but when I have a couple of major issues with the nursery, the garden, because like your water drains really fast. Like I'm pretty sure it takes less than a day for your water to get like halfway empty if you fill it up all the way.
And I'm not really sure. I did some testing, and I think it's 24 hours exactly, but there's no, when you upgrade the efficiency of the nursery or things like that, it doesn't get better necessarily. And it doesn't tell you when you update things how much more efficient it's made or how long those resources last.
Yeah, and I mean, you spend how long? Like, it takes a good 45 minutes to an hour to fill that thing up, especially if you don't have like canteens.
For sure, for sure. I thought about making a video telling people how to do it, because actually a lot of the people I've spoken to on the Discord really didn't have any idea how to do it. They weren't sure how to do it, and they just ignored the system and either bought meds or just tried to get lucky and find meds on people they kill in raid. And I feel, yeah, very much the same way. Like, it's a lot to take that much time before you get to play around to make the garden ready, you know. And the meds are a very important part of the game, and they're very expensive at the traders, so it's a pretty important thing. What would you like to see as kind of a solution for that?
Well, for one, we need a sink in the garden. That's like for
sure.
We need a sink in the garden. That is like my number one issue with it. It's just upping the efficiency for that like specific thing. Like, I don't
Yeah.
necessarily mind having to have all the different water bottles and all that.
Yeah.
That isn't a major problem, but the fact that I have to walk all the way to the opposite side of my bunker back and forth, it's just so time consuming.
For sure. And what would you say about like other solutions? Like I've thought about, for example, buying water jugs. Like I know that they want to do the water bottles, but maybe keeping water bottles for in-raid water versus having a big water jug. Like you buy gasoline in the big jugs, right? And you pour it in to make things a little bit faster. Or maybe making a quest to like get pipe or something or maybe just an extra level on the like level 2 of the nursery that allows you to pipe the water filter directly into the reservoir for the water.
No, I feel like this is something you intentionally have to work for, mainly because interests are such like a vital item in this game.
Maybe it's just a little bit too tedious. Like if they made it
I'd
so
say,
that
yeah.
half the water, for example, or that it would last twice as long. If you had to refill it every other day.
Yeah, especially since it takes like 2-3 days to grow.
It's either 48 or 72 hours to to grow the weed.
Yeah.
Somebody correct me. But again, I think that's another thing they could add is maybe descriptions for those things, so you know how long things take, how long gasoline and water last, and maybe some sort of tutorial to teach new players how to use those systems. My last question, how do you feel about first of all, do you have the DLC? For example, like Nuclear Night, which I think is probably the most controversial.
I have the Ewell DLC, I have Terran Tactical, and I have the Nuclear Night expansion.
Okay, so you have all of the DLCs except for like the Liberty one, but that does give you access to Trader level 2 at the start, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? Like, there's a lot of questions about the pay-to-win kind of nature of these DLCs, particularly the Nuclear Night Edition. How do you think that impacts gameplay right now? I mean, for you, obviously it might impact it positively, but how do you think that impacts other players as well, who do have to grind to level 2 traders, for example?
Considering the fact that like grinding up to level 2 isn't like ridiculously hard. Like I feel like if you can just really focus on getting that level up, it like a couple times I've gotten levels up in just a few days. Like I got Minty 3 in like 2 days.
I've heard kind of like several opinions on it. Like I was speaking to I think it was Lassie the other day, and he was saying that it is easy to a degree, but it's also difficult because at level 1 traders you really can't buy any good guns. Like,
Yeah, he's not wrong.
yeah, the more viable guns are like level 2 is not really that great still, but level 3 is where you actually have guns that can do things, you know what I mean? And armor, for example. Do you think that the distribution of guns at per level is even right now, or do you think it's a bit heavy at level 3 and a bit light at the lower levels?
I feel like, well, because as someone who's been at all the levels, if you look at like say Spectre level 3, you
Yeah.
unlock a very large chunk of assault rifles,
Yeah.
Pistols, all kinds of stuff. There's very little you don't unlock.
I think that like maybe what is it? The LBAV even you unlock at level 2 as well for Minty, right? At level 1 you can really only buy the bra, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe like make the LBAV go down a step to level 1 and then bring the JPC down to level 2. There's so many guns at level 3 that most people don't really use. For example, there's the bullpup that's not really meta, I guess. You could put that down a level. It would probably encourage more players to use it as well. And yeah, it would give like a midway step between just going from nothing to being able to buy an M4. I guess, do you have any like closing comments of direction wise where you'd like to see the game go, or like things you'd like to see added, or just like even a positive thing that you think about the game that you're happy with that they've done lately.
Please fix the 185 soon. We need that change, bro.
Yes.
I'm
I
so
agree.
tired of getting shot by random kids from the back.
Well, I have bad news for you because they are planning a Hunter 85 change. I think I saw somewhere in the Discord. If I do find a picture of it, I'll put it in the video. But my point is they're gonna add scopes, so you're gonna be getting doinked at a distance by hunters soon. Ghosts of Tabor is an incredible game. It is easily one of the best VR shooters on the market. When you compare it with games like Veil, Pavlov, Contractors, you name it, this game has an edge. There's something about this game that really pulls people in, both on YouTube, on Discord, and in-game. But to keep this train rolling, there are some concerns that the devs need to address to keep the community momentum there. Number one on that list is addressing concerns about DLCs and the ways that that impacts players who don't buy the DLCs and makes it more difficult for them to continue playing, while giving a massive, probably too unfair edge to players who have purchased the DLCs. 2, and equally important, is addressing the tedium of the current bunker system. While I think that hyperrealism is a very interesting concept, in VR, watering plants repeatedly with a water bottle does get very tiring, and there are many players who don't have time to dedicate every day before playing to watering their plants. Making some sort of on-off watering switch where we could, like gasoline for example, fill up once a day, or simply just pipe the downstairs water filter to the farm. That would be fantastic. These are some easy fixes that Combat Waffles can institute to make bunker life just that much nicer for us. These and other changes discussed in the interviews are some good concrete steps to make sure that this game becomes as good as we all want it to be, because we all love it, but with all things, you do get a little bit tired of the same tedious thing every day, every wipe. Combat Waffles is doing an incredible job of squashing the bugs, of squashing the hackers, of improving the game and adding new maps and new content, new guns, and new models. I think that with a few tweaks and a little bit of helpful community feedback, Combat Waffles will be right back on track, making the game that we all love. On the whole, the game is already fantastic, but why stop here? So, to Combat Waffles, thank you so much for making an incredible game, and I hope that this feedback is helpful to you in developing the game. To my wonderful Discord community and my YouTube community as well, thank you so much for subscribing and helping me get free content and helping me to make wonderful content for this awesome community. But seriously guys, thank you so much. I appreciate all your help in the Discord, and I want to thank you guys for 1,000 subscribers. It really means a lot to me. So if you enjoyed this video and you are not yet subscribed, please do so down below and hit that like button so you can stick around for videos just like this one. And while you're at it, check out some of my previous content. Anyway guys, I will see you in the next video. Peace.
Cock sucking, ball busting, dick in my ass. Fuck me hard, fuck me rough, fuck me fast. I love BBC, I love booty. All my gang stay with me, they so fruity. I love big dick, long like a ruler. I blast cum shots, that shit like a Ruger. Blast cum shots like a Glock.